Hello everybody, this is JP3 here. I can't very well introduce this video the same way I have the other ones. This is not in any way, shape, or form a deathless or painless run through Gravemind. It is a run through Gravemind that happens to involve one death, but a heck of a lot of pain. So let's get started, shall we? Oh, brother.
Brutes. Faster you can kill those brutes,
Can I even talk about this?
They don't have
So,
but take them out.
I've ran this so many times that the only thing I can tell you about how to reliably not die here, and by reliably I mean like, I don't know, 60% of the time, you're looking at it right now. So I tend to strafe wide left and then go back right behind the pillar. What that does is that the brute will actually shoot the grunt, and it can prevent the grunt from going in, so that can be a hazard, but to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever died to that grunt before whenever I worked that strategy. I couldn't find the other brute plasma rifle, so I improvised here.
The demon has infiltrated the council chamber. Protect the hierarchs. Seal the exits.
No, I don't think so. Alright, so most of you that watch this may know this, but you need to come up here. I do something that I don't think it really works very well, but after a certain point, I'd move to the other side, hoping that both won't come through doors that are facing me, but of course it didn't work there. I'm not going to say it hasn't worked before, but how do you really know if it works anyway? So if you don't get at least one brute with a carbine, I would strongly advise that you just restart it. It just takes too long if you don't get a carbine after the first after this first wave. So I do something kind of weird. I try to strafe a certain direction using both sticks, and sometimes that'll get the needles to track a little bit better, but when they don't track well, because you know, you get crazy enough to think you're actually an expert at it, and of course when you find out that you're not, what you tend to do when you're me, and perhaps me alone, is you get impatient. It's probably not a good idea to go down there until you've got about one grunt remaining, and you can pick up weapons and then wait for the next round to spawn. Well, let me say that differently. Then let the next round spawn after you kill that final grunt once you're already up here or on your way up here. But I got impatient there and went down and took care of that brute because I was tired of waiting. I looked up there because I wanted to make sure that I was on the correct side. The one that I initially went to, I am not, but I couldn't find the needler up there, meaning that it doesn't have any needles, so I'm okay staying over here. Couldn't remember for sure if I'd given up a lot of needler ammo up there, but so when in doubt, just stick that idiot. But I think the needles start to track a little bit better for me in the subsequent rounds. I'm not really sure if at that point it looked as if I was frustrated, but at the time, trust me, I was frustrated. Maybe after that first wave, I'd generally like to get a needler super combine kill as one of the brutes are coming out of that gate. That usually speeds things along, so when that didn't happen, I think I just got a little restless and but the needler super combos actually are a little more frequent. So notice how, again, I'm just kind of hopping back and forth. If you don't have ammo predominantly on one side or the other, then it doesn't matter which side you're on. With the third wave, you will have a captain with a brute shot come up. You really want to focus on him at all costs. And so we get the needler explosion there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to whittle this down, focusing and prioritizing the grunts with needlers and possibly the brutes, depending on how things go. But we want to make sure and be very careful that we know when there are only 2 enemies left. As you probably know, when there's only 2 enemies left, brutes with carbines come to the top levels. Now, I say that very vaguely because that's exactly what it is. They can come 2 on one side, 1 on each side. They can come on your side. They can be on the other side. They can come through one of 3 doors on this side. So I think in this run, one comes to the door that I hide behind. But right now we have to get that kill, and we do, so we've only got 2 grunts left. I'm looking for the Needler. If the brute comes to this door, which he does, you do exactly that and immediately go into cover where he came out of. Because if the brute the other brute who spawned in is on the same side as you, then it's likely he'll shoot at you from there and take you out while you're weak from the battle with the first one. But here we get 1 on each side, which is actually preferable. I usually don't have a problem with 1 brute. See how you can get the super combine from afar there. Now we've got just this 1 grunt left, so we're going to go down here and collect a little bit of ammunition and go to the other side to collect that brute's carbine. To be honest with you, I wouldn't even do this now. There's a couple of strats in this run that I abandoned because they weren't useful and they just kind of slowed things down more than anything else. So one of the strats is coming over to this side, which is a good idea, but that's only if you're low on carbine. These next 2 waves are pretty easy to take care of with the Needler and with what carbine ammo you do have. Since I had picked up 1, I picked up 2 from the first 2 waves and then 1 from the brute that spawned over there. Final wave. And for some reason that super combine did not occur, so I guess I was lying when I said that it got better. I guess it got better, but it didn't stay better. There we go. We get 1 there with just the... Oh, brother. I can't believe those needles tracked over the barrier. That is unbelievable. That's what he gets for cheating. I think I get impatient with this guy. No, I'm using that grenade to goose him out. And then we'll use the carbine spamming capabilities that you are allotted in MCC. Oh god, that piece of crap is still alive. Not anymore. That's it. So let's go and collect as much ammo as we can for our Needlers, our carbine, and hopefully grenades as well. Top everything off like a boss. One thing that I forgot to do there, just if you want to speed things up, is you can go ahead and get old Cortana on the pedestal there and have this occur while you're collecting ammo.
Go. It'll be easier to track truth if I stay in the network.
So usually 2 will come to each side. If you're facing one side, that seems to be the side that they slowly come through. So I look at one and then switch to the other, and that usually works pretty well to take care of at least 3, maybe even all 4 grunts. If you're aggressive there, they will hide or wait, and I don't know. You're playing a computer game when you're playing Halo 2, and it makes that clear at many points, and that's one of them. If you're sitting there ready to fire and facing one of those sides, then odds are the grunts will come to the other side first. So I just switch it up on them. So sometimes you can get a combine from back here. That's not a crazy thing to try to do. I usually try to do it a couple times, and if I can't do it, or if I'm getting pelted every time I try to do it, then I just pull out the carbine. And one thing to remember about this brute, we got some great tracking there, is that sometimes if you're not careful, he does a hop off of one of those ramps that has him clear distance and close the gap really, really fast. So be very careful of that brute if you don't take care of him early. And as you can see here, just going to each side, got an excellent tracking there from our needles. This is another area where you can get some excellent tracking or they will go into cover. So we got one out of the two brutes there. If I get both of them really fast, then I'm jumping up and down and killing the jackals before they can even come over here and cause trouble. Oh, we got an unbelievable track there. So the jackals, the only thing to really... and by the way, I did not know I killed him at the time, so I'm being ultra careful. I was not paying attention to see if he died. You can't hear the death screams in MCC Halo 2 nearly as much. That's one of the reasons I have scoring on. But I didn't even pay attention to see if the score popped up for that first brute. So that's why I'm hanging back a little bit more. Otherwise, I'd be pushing up a little bit more and using the needler a lot more. If you don't know this, I'm using the Xbox One DVR. It only records for 10 minutes at a time. This is all the same segment. This is a single segment run, but I can only record 10 minutes at a time, so there will be pauses where I had to stop and restart the recording. So hopefully while I was giving that information, what I was doing was pretty self-explanatory. As the brutes are out in the open there, a lot of times you can get some pretty good needler tracks there. So one of the things that I do is I have stopped using that grav lift because one time I got sniped by the jackal before I could kill him. Usually, and I don't know why it was different now, usually when you're up here they don't see you before you can at least get a couple of shots off, and so that's where I usually take care of the jackal. So if the same thing would have happened and I would have been powerless in the lift, then I would have been dead meat probably, unless the brute shot would have been working for me. That's the weapon I would have taken down and just spammed it as they were coming through the doors. But again, I found that to be unreliable, and so I just come down instead of giving the grav lift the power there. So if you kill these jackals, then great. If you don't, then whoever's left will go through that door and then come back. If they don't see you at all, they'll go through the door and never come back. And I didn't want to take the time to wait for that. One thing I would advise you do as well, unless you really like the beam rifle here, is to not use it here. After running this multiple times, but not for this specific run, I found it to be a lot easier to just load up on needler ammo and double fist it through these hallways with the brutes. Because right now I'm having to stay back. If I had the needlers, I would be a lot more aggressive. Or at least the odds of me being more aggressive would be a little bit higher. So there's two jackals and a brute in this room when you first come to it. When you kill two out of the three of those enemies, or get close enough to that door, depending upon how things go, but usually it's when you kill two out of the three enemies, then you'll have three grunts, I believe it is, and two brutes come through the door. As you notice there, sometimes if you kill brutes far enough apart, or the game just decides not to have it occur, the second brute will not berserk. That is not the most common occurrence, and that's why I peeked around and put myself in a position to be shot by the carbine there. So notice how here I go to the needler.
Wait a minute.
I'm still juggling, but you really don't need to through here. I've learned that. Yeah, I played this much differently, or started playing this much differently before I kind of took a break from this. So what I would do is I would run into the room and kill with a quick grenade stick whichever side had a grunt on it, because he was usually the most dangerous enemy at the very start. So before anyone noticed you, I'd stick the grunt, throw a grenade by the jackal door, as I'll call it, as it opens. You usually get a jackal kill, or at least bomb them back into and onto the sides of the map there, and then they can't move. And so then you can kill that guy and or just start to have your way with this room, usually again when I'm double fisting needlers. So you can make this a lot quicker, although probably maybe slightly riskier by going that route. I would argue that it isn't as risky if you know what you're doing, because you kill the grunt that may or may not have a needler, or maybe an ultra that's throwing grenades, that's right there on the side, and that way all the enemies in this room are back there waiting for you. And you have a better chance to kill them, obviously, because they're further back. I'm going to try not to do that too much, talk about different strats than they're actually being shown, especially because, I mean, this isn't a bad strat at all. It's a little more careful, but it's not a bad strat at all to go in here and I guess be a little more cautious. So as you can see here, we've got grunts that are kind of clown carring it here. That's not actually true. They're not spawning in. These grunts, I believe there's 5 in that room, and then there's 2 brutes. And so we took care of the brutes early enough that we didn't have to deal with a berserking brute. You definitely want to have needler ammo, double fisting needlers, or even single fisting if you gotta. Hopefully as many grenades as possible for this area. This area is a lot easier when you have the needlers available. So we kill those 2 jackals, and then we're going to be ready for any brute to come right there. But of course, as you saw, they're immediately prepared to strafe and move out of the way. I can't believe that they were able to get even one accurate shot on me with that weapon, except for that I've played Halo 2 on Legendary for a very long time now and know exactly that why that's possible. The projectile speed ramps up to an ungodly amount on for Halo 2's Legendary, and their accuracy, of course, being crazy good. So the brutes in this room, I believe this room starts out with 3 brutes and 2 jackals. It could be 4 brutes. In fact, I'm gonna say, let's say 4 brutes and 2 jackals. 2 of the 4 brutes are captains. One of them always has a brute shot. The other brutes, any brutes that come into this room through the doors, that's where it gets a little random and weird, will always have plasma rifles. So you have no carbine brutes in this room ever, and you always only have one, who I just killed, captain with a brute shot. Now notice how that door opened and released a brute. All 3 of the upper doors can release brutes into this room. Okay? So just be prepared for that. I used to take this room a lot more carefully, but in all reality, you don't necessarily have to if you're double fisting needlers, and you're ready to, and you know where the kind of the cover's at, if you will, and how to backtrack as long as you kind of stay oriented. One thing that I will definitely say before hopefully I jump out of here, because there's gonna be a lot to discuss in the prison, is that the brutes that spawn out of the doors, they will come through your door where you come from. They're the only brutes in this room that will do that. So be ready. If you're hanging back, they will charge you. So you're about to see the first and only death as I come into the most broken part of any Halo game that's ever existed.
I'll zero their locations. You neutralize the guards. Quietly.
So if you see a jackal that's up top and he's facing you, then they will quickly see you like that, and you are pretty much screwed. Unless you get lucky, which is exactly what happens here. Look at my shields right now. So essentially, I got unlucky with the jackal being in position enough to see me and spot me and cause all the commotion, but then when I died, I come back and I was lucky enough to avoid literally even getting shot until I was almost already out of there. So luck saves the day for me and screws me at the same time. So this is why I brought the beam rifle, because I think at this point right now, I'm thinking this is a dead run. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. This is, well, I guess by my definition at the time, it was a dead run. This was not a deathless run, so I didn't plan on using it, but I kept on recording, which is not normal when I die at least once. So, but I'm really glad I did, because I had another one death run that I hated, and so I'm glad that I kept this one just in case I decided to pretty much give up on hoping that I could have a deathless run before I eventually got really, really salty. So yeah, I don't know if I finished that, but yeah, I brought the beam rifle because it's a little bit easier to kill jackals with it if you're having trouble with them. Notice how I switched to the new graphics when I came into here. My graphical choices when I'm playing on Legendary difficulty in Halo 2 are mostly almost always going to be about lighting, if I switch to new graphics especially, or familiarity, which is why a lot of the videos I have, unfortunately, are going to be in the older graphics. So familiarity meaning that that's the way I played it for so long, that's kind of how I know the level best. So as soon as you finish off this group, you want to immediately get up to the top level, because it's the one level where you won't have a big chunk of enemy spawns. Although, to be honest with you, I was surprised that Cortana, started speaking about coming to a level, because usually what I like to do in all cases is when I come up here, and let's say the grav lift goes great, what I would do is I would kill, backsmack one brute, immediately hop down to the second and then the lowest level, leave a brute alive up here berserking, and that way when I finish off all the enemies that are initially in the prison, and then the ones that will spawn into the prison, then I can come back up here to relative safety, finish off that brute, and then no matter which floor the enemies spawn on, I'm in a good position, as you can see right now, to kill them. Somehow, some way, the brute, I'm going to assume that the berserking brute did something that's I've seen before, but it's very rare. He probably ran off the ledge or somehow. And so by doing so, it put us in a very perilous position that we had absolutely no problems with. So that's really nice. Alright, so now that we've cleared out, I believe, all the enemies down there, we're going to go down there and take out, and the first of these two doors that open, whichever one opens, the middle level or the lowest level, is completely random. My personal preference is that it be the mid-level first, and I'll try to explain that at some point. So this part is broken in my opinion. I don't know why, but every time I've tried to go in there, at least on MCC, and backsmack that brute, everybody wakes up. In the very same vein, everybody wakes up when I stick the brute, even though that's supposed to be silent. So, as you may have figured out, the brutes have an ability to communicate telepathically with the grunts and the jackals. Whenever they come into combat, everyone immediately wakes up and fires extremely accurate and deadly rounds. It's crap. So I switched. I gave one guy a carbine, the special. I believe it was the one who had the plasma pistol, which is useless when it's in a Marine's hands against the Covenant. Especially, just useless. And I took the other carbine because it's overfilled, as you can see. That should say 72. It says 120. So yeah, I take the overfilled one, and make sure that they have at least the plasma rifles. So the doors that enemies spawn out of are completely random, except for the doors where the prisoners are. Of course, enemies are going to spawn out of those doors whenever that door is, whenever it's time for that one to open. So you can go in it and release the prisoners and stuff. So, but everything else is random. So be ready for that crap. Right there, I don't know if you saw that, but whenever your Marines are fighting against grenade-throwing enemies, they throw the hell out of them. I firmly believe that's another example of how this game tilts itself in its favor, because, as you probably know, Marines are freaking awful at dodging grenades in this game, in Halo 2 especially. And so, of course, they seem to know that magically and start hauling them at your friends there. So in that situation, you just move the heck out of the way, big time. The reason why I like the second level first is that's usually the hardest prison block to bring your friends out of alive. So when that one finishes off and I lose the Marines, then I come down here and the Marines and I don't face, it seems like to me, it always feels like to me, we don't face nearly as much opposition. And then, the Marines coming down, or excuse me, the enemies coming down the lift will die if you're inside a prison block, if you're in the middle of the lower or middle level. So it's usually easier for me to take Marines out of here whenever this is the second prison block that we're emptying. So I'm collecting as much brute shot ammo as I can, hopefully as many grenades as I can, and I'm going to try to release these prisoners and do it without dying. So this is the harder of the two rooms in terms of the enemies you'll face. I usually stick this jackal and just start spamming the carbine until that brute dies. This is really safe. I've done some more aggressive strats where I backsmack the first jackal, try to brute shot or stick the second jackal, and then brute shot or stick the brute. Sometimes the backsmack doesn't work. MCC seems to be worse than the original Halo 2 in terms of recording melee attacks, especially with the brute shot for some reason. And so I tend not to rely on it too much at all. If you miss that jackal with the jackal major that's in front there, then I'm not saying you're dead, but now you got to deal with 3 enemies, one of which is really close and is going to be spamming the crap out of its plasma pistol, perhaps even charging it up. I'd much rather go ahead and kill him very reliably with a grenade stick and then just strafe and shoot the brute while he's kind of stunned. He seems to be in somewhat of a semi-stunned state and doesn't immediately start firing his grenades the way he tends to fire them. So now we're in lovely territory here. When in doubt, whenever you're dealing with enemies in the prison, after releasing Marines, immediately retreat back to the prison block. You can be very safe and camp out in here, and unless the brute is enraged and berserking, they will not come into here. That's the only time where they do, and of course you saw we were able to handle that, but pretty safely. So I'm just doing a little test to see, and because we were in the prison block, indeed, the enemies all fell to their death. If you don't know what that's all about, you'll see in a little bit. Now I'm looking for grenades and looking to top off the carbine. I could spend about an hour talking to you about how broken and madness-inducing this level is, but I've decided to treat this remotely about the same way as I have all my other videos, and try to help people out that actually do watch this. I cannot guarantee in any way, shape, or form any sort of deathless strats the way I was able to beforehand. I guess I can never truly guarantee it, but I felt like that with every other video up to this point, I could show you how to go deathless unless you really get unlucky or unless you're really unpracticed at Halo 2's legendary difficulty. This level I cannot. Not coming down that lift. And later on we'll get to some parts that are also pretty dicey. But the broken parts we are past. And if you can make it down the lift and to the bottom floor in the prison, then if you do what I do, unless you're, I had some trouble with it, but unless you're, have a lot of trouble killing things initially, after you've came down the lift, then again, once you start opening prison blocks, you can always retreat to the back of the prison block and be pretty safe against all comers, and just pick them off as they show up. This room here, I should mention, is also a really crappy room. I've had a lot of trouble at this part with not being able to somehow, some way sufficiently take out the elites and drones. They do not fight each other reliably, so sometimes once they see you, they will immediately start gunning you down. It's probably best to open that door from the side if you don't want to immediately get gunned down, but if you do that, you run the risk of not killing enough of these enemies, and now they're inside the room I'm in now with you, where there's absolutely no cover against them. And when I say them, I'm mainly speaking of the drones. I'll show you in a second. So there's some elites and brutes that fight here. Usually the brutes seem to win this one because the drones are on their side. The drones rarely survive for long against the elites with the plasma rifles. And if you help out at all, then this is almost always the outcome, is that you'll get 1 or 2 brutes left, and you just take him out however you please. So there is a weird glitch that I'll talk about in a second that involves that sound you just heard, but if you stand in this area where I'm at right now, and especially with your back against the wall, but even if not, you can get a sufficient cover against the drones. They won't come back there. They won't hop down and shoot you from there. So you can be completely safe in this room facing drones. That's why I charged in here initially. But we get fortunate there, and our grenades and the brute shot that we, the little timed mines we left for them there, did their job, did the trick.
Thou in faith will keep us safe.
So now I'm just trying to soften up this group. I really don't want the elites to survive. Usually you have at least an elite with a carbine and or maybe always, an elite with a oh god. I forgot about that. That was careless on my part. I should not have came in this room with a brute shot. I should have came in this room with a plasma pistol. And that's a very rare occurrence, but in the off chance that it does occur, if you got a plasma pistol ready to zap them, then it will give you sufficient. It will not only shield them, but give you sufficient time to headshot them. The problem that I faced there is that I was careless in not being careful, since I had gotten everybody's attention and let them know I was here by shooting over there and throwing grenades. It's just against rare for an elite to not only survive that, but then also make its way over to you. I've seen that kind of thing before, but nothing quite as risky as heart-pounding as what you just saw. So who cares? Have a plasma pistol with you, and that way, if you see one charge up, you can get to cover. It's probably number one, but if you can't get to cover, you can immediately charge it up, and he'll stun as they do, and then you can headshot him and hopefully make it out alive. So these hunters here, I will admit it right now, I am the worst at killing them with the dual wielding plasma rifle strategy. I'm not good at it at all. I'm not sure what went wrong there, except for I can tell you, I believe from memory, that it takes like one more shot after this. So we gotta find ourselves in an annoying position here that we can only really screw up if we make a platforming error or we get impatient. I'm just pelting him because I just have this feeling in my gut that he's like, a handful of shots away from dying, so he turns around there and gives us a present. So with the second one, I almost always grenade, stick, and carbine. Notice how I missed his back there for a little bit. Oh, brother. So there's grenades laying over here, so immediately go over there if you have access to it. Grab one more grenade, and, well, that one just killed him outright. Not typical unless the hunter's really weak, as he was. Now, opening this door is a treacherous nightmare unless you do it the way I'm going to show you how to do it, and you still don't have any guarantees. I'm going to find a plasma pistol, just in case I run across an elite who has survived in this area. All I want is one, and I'm getting the best one. This is one of those things that I do, one of the many things I do that takes time, but it helps me to be able to tell you that I can almost guarantee you'll make it through here if you have a plasma pistol ready to supercharge. If you see an elite right here at this door, come to this side, immediately gun down this jackal sniper. No guarantees you'll kill him without him killing you, so that's yet another area where I cannot guarantee you any sort of safety by that strategy. But I've gone to the other side one too many times, and you have three jackal snipers, including the one I just killed, that based on your positioning can all shoot at you, whereas now none of them can shoot at me that are alive except for this one. But I usually have he usually has no concept of where you're at when you're over here, and you can take him out pretty easily. Just being careful, taking my time. Usually when you go to this side, not that one, that jackal sniper that's in the tower over there, I've never seen him survive doing this strategy. So now I'm assuming, and usually rightfully so, I haven't seen it prove wrong yet, that we've got 3 out of the 4 jackal snipers killed. Sometimes you can be really fortunate, and the elites will win. And if the elites win, then almost always the Jackal Sniper that's to your left will be dead. He's the second one that they usually kill, the second of the two on that side. But I am seeing drones, not elite Rangers, who have survived this battle. So what that means is that, unfortunately, the Jackal Sniper that's in that cave area over there, that's to the left right now of where I'm facing, is probably still alive. Spoiler alert, he is. And because he is still alive, we are all but screwed. All but screwed. So what to do now? I don't see the Jackal over there. I don't see any elites alive over there, which is very important to make sure and keep in mind. There can be some Spec Ops elites over there that are alive. Notice how when I came to this side, I was constantly watching both of the ways in which an enemy could get into this area. Both strips, this V here, enemies can come through here. We didn't get anybody coming through here, but you can, so be very careful. I'm going to try to figure out a way to see if I can get a shot on, or at least find out if this Jackal Sniper is still living. And I hear him shooting. I don't know what he's shooting at, but I'm assuming it's at me. There is a little space in between that rock and that structure there that honestly, I didn't know existed. I don't know if he could have shot me from there, or if I can shoot him from through there. But this is how I take care of him, because what the hell else was I going to do? Needless to say, I did not think that was going to work. I've literally never tried that before. I've had this game, or played this game for, well, since 04. I've never done that before. Never had to. So that is not a strategy that I would tell you in any way, shape, or form will work every time. It just worked then. I don't know, maybe you could get really good at throwing that grenade, but I know that the Jackal Sniper over there, is not always front and center. Maybe you can bring him front and center and then get good at throwing that grenade just right. That's certainly possible. I did not just spam grenades over there. I threw that one about where I thought it might land, to the point where I thought it might land exactly where he usually stands. I, in no way, shape, or form would, I'd say that's probably, for me, I'd say about a 10% chance I'd land that. And I just, rolled the dice and got lucky. Oh gosh, we're about to get into a really embarrassing part here. Not here. I don't know why he ran the way he did. That was really stupid. Usually, he runs straight out, so he ran in a weird way, but I still got, I think the fur on his leg adhered to the grenade. So, there is a Jackal Sniper at the end of this stupid walkway that can kill you before you even have a chance to do anything, so I am going to try to grenade jump up to the top, where I have got a significantly better chance of killing him. I am terrible at grenade jumps, so get ready for some hilarious stuff here. This is a really risky grenade jump. I thought that rolled off, so that's why that one screwed up. The other one I mistimed. Mistimed this one. I think in order to time the grenade jump, the best thing that worked for me, I'm not teaching anybody anything. I'm the last person who needs to teach anybody about grenade jumps in Halo 2. Or any other Halo for that matter. You can jump yourself right off of the ledge or right down below, where doing a grenade jump backup would be considerably harder. The good news is that Bungie, perhaps purposefully or not, left a bunch of grenades lying around here that are developer placed, so they're not going anywhere. So you've got plenty of chances to get this one right. I practiced this before this run, but not enough, clearly. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, jump. So that's the way I tried to time it in my head. Notice I jumped early. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, jump. That was still early, but I did make it. So there is some weird, I guess I shouldn't talk over this either. There's some weird glitch that I don't know how it exists, where now every time when I come out of a pause, it has that sound of a beam rifle firing. I'm sure if you've played this game well enough, you've ran into it before. I don't run into it often at all, but I've got it here on my vid, so apologies if that startles you or annoys you. So notice how much safer we are up here. The Jackal Sniper can be on either side. He can charge up even though he cannot possibly see you. He can charge up, but he has a very difficult time landing a shot. He usually hits the geometry, or you can move out of the way, or shoot him first. But I have literally done this trick, got up here, and the Jackal, impossible for him to see me because he spawns in with the checkpoint that occurs in the middle of the time you're on this lift. Did you see those teeth? That's when he spawns in. He could not have possibly seen me if I was up here. Yet he runs up like he does. So just for evidence that if the game wants to kill you with that Jackal Sniper, it effing will. Because there's no chance you have if you're on that lift. Well, there's very little chance you have if you're on the lift and he's alerted to your presence. For no other reason than that the game wants him alerted to your presence. That time, he was not alerted to our presence. I've come down that lift and not seen him at all. Like, I mean, I know he's there, he just starts fighting the enemy. So, it's just really dicey. So, I have not done one single grenade jump for Halo 2. Except for there, and it shows. It took me, what, 5 tries, 6 tries? After that Jackal Sniper, I would venture to say that the rest of this mission is only and simply Halo 2 hard. There's a couple of spots, and I don't run them as well as I normally do in this playthrough, but there's a couple of spots going forward where you got to be a little concerned. I mean, I'm not saying to take it, again, it's Halo 2 hard, which means it's harder than any other campaign. But it's just normal Halo 2 difficult instead of effed up Gravemind BS hard and cheat sheet stuff hard. So it gets, this is once you kill them, if you know how to kill them, which, by the way, always, once you get that checkpoint, after you grab that beam rifle, or after you walk far enough, go to the left side. If you go to the right side and do what I did on the same exact side, they do all kinds of, they spawn in all kinds of weird ways, and sometimes you won't see one until like 5 minutes later. If you go to the left, they almost always spawn exactly like that. I can't believe I talked over that part. This is the problem with Gravemind, is I can't ad-lib or anything. Every part's important. Every place can kill you, but if you know how that strat works and you understand how this battle works, much less everything else, it really gets, it's easy from here on out by Halo 2 Gravemind standards. It's just normal difficult by Halo 2 standards, and it's extremely difficult by any other campaign's standards on Legendary. That was a mouthful. Alright, so, woo! If I can only get here without dying. Because after this, yeah, we're going to go step by step. I'm going to start focusing on what's going on in the game now, but it is, from this point forward, if you take it easy and your game is working, you know, your skills are on, you don't have to rely on luck nearly as much. But there are some treacherous parts, so I'll make sure you understand them. I don't know if I do anything revolutionary in terms of strategies, but so this this floating walkway thing is completely safe. Hop on in. You can let these 2 drones fly on through, or you can shoot them. I shoot them because I don't want the drones to win the battle in this room. If the drones win the initial battle in this room, more drones come into the room, and I hate fighting drones. They hide in all kinds of weird corners, and I'm never confident walking in that room if the drones win. If the elites win, more elites will spawn through the doors. And while they're certainly challenging, we've got the weapons to deal with them here. Plus, we have 2 plasma pistols that are on the floor behind us if we bonk everything and run out of the beam rifle. So another good reason to kill the drones. Also, another good reason to kill the drones and have the elites win is that this two Jackal spawn will come into the room, and the elites that are left over will fight them. The drones, well, they'll support them. So, I know a lot of people let the drones go through that door. I would strongly advise you not do that. I would also strongly advise, I think I might do it here, I can't remember for sure, is to grab 2 needlers instead of a beam rifle out of this room. I love having a sniper rifle on me at all times, but you won't need one in the next section until you already come across an ammo box that has them. So I do the smart thing here and grab the 2 needlers. I don't remember for sure, but you should certainly top off your carbine. Ah, there it is. And make sure your grenades are topped off, which is what I'm doing there, and making sure I have full carbine. So take 2 needlers into this next section. Completely safe out here. Completely safe over here. In the next section, we'll want to run across a kind of an interesting, much more scripted encounter with the Covenant. So there's going to be a bunch of grunts running around that, as far as I've ever known and seen, are completely and utterly not a threat. They are in complete and utter running scared mode. They are completely and utterly incapable of hurting you unless they push you off of that ledge, which I've had them do before. It's been a long time, but I've had that happen before. I used to bring a sword here, have the sword, and just slice them, but now I'm just careful. This is why we bring the Needler. As soon as the brute sees you, they will almost always at least start angling your way. So, of course, the Needlers do a great job at killing them. You can also do grenade sticks, but I have had some bad luck at times grenading them and then jumping. A lot of times I'll grenade and then jump into my grenade because you're trying to grenade them on that slope, and it's just not a motion I'm overly comfortable with. And this late into a mission, the last thing I want to do is do anything that I'm uncomfortable with, even if I shouldn't be uncomfortable with it. So at some point over here, you will find a box full of beam rifles. I strongly suggest you take one. Completely safe over here, by the way, and completely safe on the other side of this too, until we open that door, of course. Now, I don't know why people do this, but people will open this door and not do this. Just stay far back and shoot the brutes with the carbine or the beam rifle. They didn't even fire a shot at me. I have no idea where the third brute is. I've never seen not 3 of them come through that door that I can ever recall. So maybe I killed them really quickly there. I'm not sure. Full set of beam rifle, or full crate of beam rifle there. So grab one of those, unless you didn't use it to kill them. Immediately, the only reason I didn't immediately go to the left and do what I'm about to do is because I thought, well, maybe that that third brute would be waiting for me. So I immediately go to the left, hop on that box after I kill the jackal, and come up here. You have to kill that jackal. It's just like the jackal coming across the wall. He has a sixth sense and seems to know you're suddenly behind him, even though there's still enemies of his down here. Once you kill a certain amount, you will see the elites and 3 elites, I guess 3 or 4 elites come through there, and then you will see a grunt with a fuel rod. Immediately kill him, because he will shoot a tracking fuel rod bolt at you over here. He is your only threat coming out of that door, as long as you're up here. So I would really like to see the elites win this, lose this battle, because of how easy it is for them to hide in this map. I was looking for enemies and got really stupid. Never died up here before, but I almost bought it there. I have no idea how they saw me. They were all turned around. They were far away from me. I did not fire upon them, but that's Halo 2 BS for you. Don't ever relax and think that this game is going to play like a normal game. They should never have noticed me up here. So now we have 2 berserking brutes, which is actually great news. It makes me very confident that there isn't another brute hiding somewhere. But God bless, don't ever get confident about things like that. I really want to kill him with this carbine, because I want to be able to use the beam rifle that I have. We'll get him like less than a full clip left. So I'm just looking over there to see if there's any enemies, especially any elites. Because of their armor, they're much harder to see. The brutes are much easier to see, especially when you start, you get down to the last couple or last one, they'll berserk and make themselves obvious, at least for a while. And so that's why I like to tilt the battle towards the brutes there. So as soon as you get the checkpoint there, you're going to have 2 elites with swords and camo pop through that door. Shoot them like so, and then 3 Spec Ops grunts. Most, if not all the time, at least 1 or maybe even all 3 will have needlers, and they will throw grenades like Spec Ops grunts like to do. Kill them very quickly. I forget that I killed the grunt with the fuel rod, and he would have been on the right side of me right now, so I don't look to see if that fuel rod's behind there. If I had taken the time to do that, I would have probably found it. But it can disappear on you really fast, so I gave up on it really fast. You definitely want to preserve fuel rod. Do not start throwing grenades in the room that's in front of us. There is a fuel rod in there with 20 rounds in it. You can easily blow it into the geometry and never see it again. If you don't have a fuel rod in the final sections, I don't know I can't help you. So this fool was ready for us. Sometimes he has turned around and we can come up and sort him. So if you want to be really safe, go back and get a fresh beam rifle in that room. In the previous room. I'm looking for the carbine box because I don't know. I think I'm used to coming back here and finding the fuel rod, which I'll usually drop and leave here. But since I'm not, I just deliberately planned not to go back and get a beam rifle, and I didn't find the fuel rod. I was a little lost there for a second. So immediately, so come in here and take 2 full plasma pistols and drop them in here. You also want to pull every carbine, all the ammo you can, out of the boxes. So I'm gonna take this fuel rod and I'm going to juggle it out of harm's way. It should not be blown into the geometry there. I'm also gonna make sure and get all the carbine ammo I can and take it in here with me. As you can see here, just juggling carbine, so taking carbine, putting it down. Now I'm going to come and get this carbine and then just continually run over that gun when I need ammo for it. I'm only carrying the sword because I don't want the sword. And so I can switch it out if I need to. So as soon as you cross this magic line here, that door does that, and all the ammo boxes behind you close. Every single one of them. That's why I was taking the carbine out of the ammo boxes that I wanted to keep. There are 6 Spec Ops grunts in here and 4 Spec Ops elites. They are grenade happy. Your best bet is to take this very carefully unless you know exactly what you're doing. They are grenade happy, and of course they fire their weapons extremely fast and extremely effectively. It is nothing but a pit of danger in there, but I get the sense, after watching a couple of people do this room, I get the sense that if I practice this room enough, if I could save a checkpoint here, for example, or just, got to this point and practiced it a lot, I get the sense that this is a room that you could get very confident with and not be nearly as cautious as I am now. So this is the best way to do this room cautiously, is just to stay at this point, use grenade sticks. Notice how he can throw that grenade even though his arm didn't fly towards us and he was totally stunned. It was very stupid. It's ridiculous. The grenade just flies out of nowhere. But guess what? You actually can do that too. If you fire this is one way to do that is if you fire a plasma overcharge and throw a grenade, the grenade will just come out of your body. You won't actually see your arm go forward. So I guess we get that little benefit too, but be sure and keep count. I have not kept count for this video, but when I was playing the game, I was keeping count. And I believe right now we are down to 1 grunt and 1 Spec Ops Elite. I might be wrong, and it could be 2 Spec Ops Elites, but I literally haven't been counting. I'm doing that totally from memory because I get a little held up on the final Spec Ops Elite being way too safe. Yep, we're down to 1. Nope, sorry. Sorry. We're 2 Spec Ops Elites and 1 grunt. So I don't know if the Spec Ops Elite that was to our left came down, is now on the right to the bottom there. I'm trying to stick him, or at least grenade the crap out of that stupid crate he's getting cover behind, so I can finish him off. And now he's trapped. He cannot move from that position. So we're just going to take him out the easy way. He's still got a grenade off. I told you they were grenade happy. So there is one grunt left who I'm going to ignore because I have no idea where the hell he's camped out and hiding, but he is indeed doing that. That should have been, in Halo 2, that should have been a headshot. Since it wasn't, we're going to spend the next minute and a half messing around with this guy. I'm really trying not to cuss when I do these streams. I'm really trying to keep this family friendly. But too many of my phrases and such are have bad words in them. Bad words. I have a 6.5-year-old son, and you know he likes to watch these. Believe it or not, when I posted them, and I don't want to set a bad example. I also do a job that's somewhat sensitive, and I don't need people to think any more badly of me than they otherwise might, knowing that I post on YouTube about a game that's 14 years old. Alright. Hopefully that was entertaining, because watching this this little stupid battle with that idiot was not only boring for me to do, but almost brought me back to that level of frustration I felt when I was doing it. Still can't laugh about Gravemind crappiness. And part of the frustration is indeed the fact that I'm pretty sure that if I would just practice this part, I could probably be a lot more confident in this room. Instead, we wasted however many 2 minutes, 3 minutes of our already running long time dealing with him. So if you have one jackal left, then just pick up 2 plasma rifles and just go melt his ass. Like so. So go get the fuel rod. Do not leave the fuel rod behind. I mean, I guess you could always come back and get it, but top off the carbine to the extent that you can. And let's get ready for kind of perilous part. It feels like it should be more perilous than it actually ever is, but don't take it lightly at all. So this door is an auto-opening door. You don't have to be the normal close for it to open. It is scripted to open once you reach a certain point in that room, as opposed to open when you reach a certain point next to a door. So I am trying to kill the Jackal Sniper by whatever means possible. For some dumb reason, I did not have the good shot on him that I normally do when I see him initially, or maybe I just missed the opportunity. I get 2 sticks on brutes, which, while special, is completely and utterly not what I wanted, and that's where I noticed that the idiot lived. So instead of dying to all the splash damage, to the elites and grunts that were firing at him, he is the one of the few that are remaining alive here. So, yet again, we're held up. So he's still firing, but I think that was it for him there. And now that I see that there is no Jackal, there's no, I don't think there's even brutes, you've got drones, I'm pretty confident that all but the drones and the elites are dead now. How'd you like that little shimmy he did coming towards us there? Oh, brother. So, drones will hide behind those posts and pillars. Never walk out of here feeling confident that they're all dead. Always be on guard. So I'm listening for flapping wings as I'm doing what I'm doing now, while I was playing it at least. But I don't hear anything. Pretty sure they're dead. Hoping to God, in the massively rare instance that it would occur that an elite did not somehow survive all this and is hiding. Now, this is where my run is going to slow down quite a bit compared to maybe some others. I like to take both of these beam rifles out of their crate. I like to use them for the final fight, and every once in a while, if you don't do that, then one of the enemies, whether it's the fuel rod grunt that's upcoming, whether it's the hunters that are upcoming, or grenades, sometimes they'll blast the box right off, and if that happens, I can't help you. You really need, if you want to do my strategy, and even though I don't do well at it in this run, if you want to do my strategy, you need to have as much beam rifle as possible. Unfortunately, we're down a half or a used beam rifle because I never find the Jackal's beam rifle. So we most certainly then needed to have needed to make sure that crate didn't fall off. So notice how I stick the fuel rod and the 2 snipers in that room so they can't possibly be blown off. If there's anything I do that takes a long time, that's slow, that seems stupid or like overkill, it may be all of those things, or at least one of those things, but most likely it's because I have died a dumb, idiotic, stupid death and felt like an idiot because I didn't figure that out beforehand. So figure out to keep things out of the way of fire and all that stuff. So anything that I do that takes a while, that's the why I do it. I play that differently than I've seen most people do it. Instead of ever looking at the drones, I just back up and kill if I possibly can, or am prepared to dodge the fuel rods, the tracking fuel rods from the fuel rod grunt. If you can kill the fuel rod grunt, great. If not, you at least know where the fuel rods are going to track them. I never seem to get the drones very interested in me when I do exactly what I just did, which is essentially trigger that spawn and just continue moving backwards, facing the Covenant, and shooting, or facing the elites and grunts, the rebels, I don't know why, whatever you want to call them, and then of course I'm looking for the fuel rod grunt. So I pelt this entire room with sticky grenades. Not normally what I do, and it's just an absolute and utterly useless thing to do here for dumb, terrible, stupid reasons. So this is something I don't normally do. Normally I use the Jackal's beam rifle to kill these 2 hunters, but since I don't have it, and I have other designs for the 2 beam rifles that are in there, including the fuel rod, I also want to keep it full, even though I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm doing this instead. This is a completely useless way to kill the hunters, because no matter how much blood you see coming out of them, and no matter how powerful that brute shot is against you, it is not going to full clip. A lot of those shots causing damage, splash damage, it just doesn't do the trick. So one thing that you could have done from the beginning, and I should have done from the beginning, is save your grenades so you don't feel like an idiot, and just use the fuel rod to kill these guys. You don't need that much ammo of it. It is mainly our backup weapon in the final fight. That's its main purpose. So using it here, or using it when you first come onto this bridge, which is what I do. If I was deathless up to this point, I would use the fuel rod and wipe out that Jackal. I'd fire every freaking shot at it until it was dead. And if the brutes want to come in here and tangle, that's great. I'd have the carbine as the backup for that. But undoubtedly, the fuel rod, it's probably best used. Oh my god. All those grenades that I threw in there, and that piece of crap is still alive. Can you believe it? So luckily we find fuel rod ammo there, but again, it's a surplus. We really don't need it. Make sure you grab one of the fresh beam rifles and tilt this battle towards the brutes. Don't listen to what anybody says. Let the brutes win it. The brutes are easy to kill. The elites have a fuel rod gun. They have carbines. They are ultras, so they take like 4 sniper shots to kill, and they're almost impossible to kill without busting their shields first. Do not worry about anything with respect to with trying to make this battle even. And there's an elite that's alive over there still, because they can survive everything that's ever thrown at them. And of course, then the hunters win this battle really quick. So again, best thing to do is to kill as many elites as possible, so you don't have to worry about them. The fuel rod is for the hunters, and it's our backup for any other enemies that we'll face. So it appears as if I don't know how I knew it at the time, but I think I knew at that point for some reason that that elite that was alive over there was dead. I could be wrong though, and I might backsmack. I think I'm wrong, and I backsmack him. I'm going back to get the full beam rifle. It's going to be our weapon for the final wave of elites that come through the door at the very end. The fuel rod with 20 rounds is our backup weapon. So 1 hour and 4 minutes into this mission, by God, I'm going to be confident going into this final battle. And with 100 beam rifle, an extra beam rifle here that I think had 60 or 49 charge in it before I put it down, and 20 fuel rod rounds, plus what I can pick up from what that elite dropped over there, I'm pretty confident. That's why I said it gets easier. This is one of the reasons why, because I can take time, but I can make this battle my bitch. That's right, I said it. By having this loadout. So there we go. He was still alive, but he was, and look at that. I only saw him because that reticle went red. So Cortana pops into that thing, the little pot console thing there. As soon as she starts talking, not yet, patience, go backwards. Go backwards, go backwards, go backwards, and set up wherever you like to get a sniper, a clear shot on that door with your sniper rifle. Try your best to kill the cloaked elites first. They're very hard to kill first or at all because the auto or the aim assist does not attract to them very well at all. So I fail. I've done that massively better before. Did you see that? Did you see how that grenade came out, those cheating bastards? Yeah. That spun out of his hand with magic. That one came out clean. So this is a bad case scenario, but it's not the worst. At least we're not dealing with two. The elite ultras do not push up. Only this guy does. That's why I say focus on them first, because they push up. Now we're going to our backup weapon and our grenades, and he's dead. We just I mean, and that's, as you saw there, this is crappy. I hate this. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's just this is just prolonging the inevitable. For some reason, the counselors have weaker shields than the ultras, so we can two-shot them just like we could a major. And now we're down to one more guy. He has a carbine. Don't take him lightly, but don't get scared either. You got this. Look at this. Look at that. A fuel rod went through his legs. How many times? How many shots? How many does it take? We had enough, though. I literally shook my head, well, my avatar, my chief's head at the time. Why am I switching weapons? Why am I doing that? Alright, I apologize. My video was about to run out here, so I had to do a cut at this part, which makes it look kind of weird, but I promise you. So you heard the beam rifle. There you go. It's legitimate, I swear. But yeah, I had to do that cut there so I didn't run out. So that's it. No deathless. No painless. Unless you count the grenade jump. It was pretty exploitless. Run through Gravemind. I hope this commentary helps people out. I really do. My advice to anybody that's listening to this, if you've made it to this point in this video, here's my advice to you about playing Gravemind on Legendary. Do not play this level with any sort of desire or intent to go deathless. That's it. I beat this level 11 times last week. So now, since we're at the end of this week, it's been about a week and a half. I beat it 11 times. And that wasn't enough because I'm an idiot. Trust me, it's enough. If you can beat this level on Legendary, which I just showed you how to do, then you've done enough. That's good enough. That takes a lot of talent. Not talent, sorry. I tell you, because I can beat it. It's not talent. It takes skill, and it takes familiarity with the map and luck. Use the checkpoints. That's why they're there. And just beat the level. Just beat the level and be happy with that. Don't worry about deathless or painless. That's my advice. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. This is JP3 signing out. Like and subscribe if you like this stuff. If you want to see more of it, please comment as well. Tell me how I'm doing on the commentary, how I'm doing on the gameplay. Feel free to debate Gravemind and all that stuff. But truly signing out now. Have a wonderful day, and thank you very, 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 very much.